United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Borelli.
Here.
Councilmember Clarici.
Here.
Vice Mayor Patton.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Here.
Thank you. Announcements, presentations to the public. Do we have any announcements or presentations that I'm not aware of? Okay, adoption of the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. We're
It's
going to do,
coming.
that's down, that's further down.
I will move the agenda with an additional ceremonial item to recognize the 100th anniversary of our local Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Okay, wait, could I have you add one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
City Manager Cleve, you want to tell?
Yes, we're requesting there's an item in place before you to add to tonight's agenda. It is a resolution approving a letter of complaint to the California Public Utilities Commission regarding PG&E's reduction in Rule 20A allocations to communities, and that does take a vote to add to the agenda.
When you have a matter that comes up after the agenda has been posted, and for which action is needed prior to your next council meeting, you can add that to the agenda by a 4/5 vote of the council.
Well, I'll add that then.
That's part, make that part of your motion.
I'm making that, the PG&E thing, part of my motion.
Okay.
Okay.
I will amend my second.
Okay.
Okay.
And then there was Charles Anderson from the League of California Cities was going to be here to look at to talk about item 8.5 on your agenda.
Yes.
So I was going to request to pull that, but I don't see him here yet, so I'll leave that up to you if you want to just leave it on or pull it and see if he gets here.
How about if we leave it on and maybe he, you know, in the case that he doesn't show up, can we change it then?
I was going to ask.
To
You
note that.
can, you can pull it when you get there, sure.
Okay,
So, yeah.
okay, all right. Okay, roll call?
Mayor Borelli.
Aye.
Councilmember Clarici.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Patton.
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now it is with great pleasure that we have a proclamation to present to the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce celebrating their 100th anniversary. And I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to ask Laurel Brentbaum to come and accept it. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Placerville commending the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce on their 100th anniversary. Whereas on January 6, 1915, the El Dorado County Board of Trade changed their name to the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce and set their annual dues at $6 per member. And whereas of the original 11-member board of directors, 4 of them were also Placerville City Council members. Board President J.F. Limpencell, John C. O'Donnell, George Schiff, and Max Baer. Boy, he was noted for something else other than that. And whereas for over 100 years, the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce has supported the pioneering spirit that drew the gold seekers of this county. And whereas the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce has developed and supported programs that expand the county's existing business base and attract new, clean industry, thereby ensuring that our quality of life will be sustained through future generations. And whereas for over 100 years, the Chamber has tirelessly promoted our county's natural wonders, thriving agriculture community, and historical landmarks. And whereas the Chamber's century of dedication to local events, organizations, and programs that enhance the lives of all residents is a remarkable accomplishment. Now therefore I, Patty Borelli, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Placerville, State of California, do hereby congratulate the El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce on their 100th anniversary and commend their service to the Placerville community.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm really, really honored yeah, for this recognition. The Chamber is always felt that Placerville, Placerville is our home, the county seat is our home, and we've always felt like we're your chamber. Even although we do have a responsibility to the entire county, we always feel like we're your chamber and we're here for you and working for you. So we're very grateful and in accepting this proclamation today. Someone asked me this morning, had I been there the full 100 years? And I said, sometimes it feels like it. But thank you all so much. We really appreciate the recognition.
Thank you so much for leaving your big party. And I'm sorry we couldn't attend. Okay. There you go. Thank you. Okay, next I have another proclamation to present tonight. This is a proclamation declaring September 2015 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Placerville. This proclamation will be accepted by Richard Montgomery, Prostate Support Group Leader for Cameron Park Group, Coordinator with the Veterans Affairs Urology Department in Sacramento, and Prostate Peer Navigator at UC Davis Cancer Center. Okay, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Placerville declaring September 2015 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Placerville. Whereas prostate cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in men aside from skin cancer, and it is estimated that 1 in 7 men will develop this disease in their lifetime. And whereas the American Cancer Society estimates there will be 220,800 new cases of prostate cancer in the USA in 2015, resulting in an estimated 27,540 deaths. And whereas it is estimated that 21,060 men in California will be diagnosed with prostate cancer this year, and that 3,180 of those men will die from this disease. And whereas the survival rate approaches 100% when prostate cancer is diagnosed and treated early, but drops to 28% when it spreads to other parts of the body. And whereas early prostate cancer usually has no symptoms, and studies suggest strong familial predisposition may be responsible for 5 to 10% of the disease cases, and whereas treatment options for prostate cancer vary depending on the man's age, stage, and grade of this cancer, as well as his other existing medical conditions. And whereas the American Cancer Society recommends that men should be given an opportunity to make an informed decision about whether to be tested for prostate cancer based on their personal values and preferences. And whereas the City of Placerville joins communities across our nation to increase the awareness about the importance for men to make an informed decision with their health care provider about early detection and testing for prostate cancer. Now therefore I, Patty Borelli, Mayor of the City of Placerville, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2015 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Placerville, and I commend this observance to all our citizens. Okay, Mr. Montgomery, would you care to?
Very few. Thank you, Mayor, council members, and Susan, who does all the hard work with putting all the whereases together. The whereases cover 99% of all of it. I just have a couple of comments. I'm about an 18-year survivor of the friendly little thing. And I do a lot of volunteer work in addition to my own job, but The biggest thing I can tell most men is get tested. And that goes back to, let's say, African Americans at 40, Caucasians at 45. It's a very simple, get your annual physical. It's a low cost, small vial of blood that gets tested. The test is called PSA, but that does not test for cancer, it just tests for activity in the prostate, which is an indicator that there may be a problem. Beyond that, early stage diagnosis, early treatment. Primarily what we do as support groups is talk to people who have been early diagnosed, and you get diagnosed with a biopsy. We try to encourage everybody to learn as much as they can. Go back to the whereases. Physically, how are you? What can you tolerate? What works for you? Work with your significant other to come up with a treatment that works for you. Recently, I'll just toss this one in, they've come up with a new test that now can take biopsy samples, go to a lab, and they come up with a probability now of, was the pathology basically right, and what does that mean? Now this is really new, and it's something we're trying to encourage urologists around the country to insist you do that extra test. So there's some 13,000 urologists in this country, and maybe 3,000 of them even know about this test. So it's part of education, part of getting it out, getting the word out, and which is part of what we do. And I'd like to thank you again very much for the proclamation again this year. Thank you.
Well, you know what? I want to thank you for all the work and the efforts that you put into this, because I'm sure you have probably saved a lot of men's lives by promoting this and sharing this information with.
We hope so.
Okay. But
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, it's for public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. State law prohibits the council from acting on items not listed on the agenda except by special action of the City Council under specified circumstances. The mayor reserves the right to limit the speaker's time to 3 minutes. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please give any written material presented at the meeting to the city clerk for the public record. Do we have any written communication, Mr. Morris?
None tonight.
Okay, oral communication. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to come forward? Please step forward to the podium.
Good evening, council. Just a brief thing here. First off, my name's Ed Ingram, I-N-G-R-E-M. My wife Tammy and I are residents here in the town off of Mosquito, just behind the bus station. Our lovely little bus station back there. Been a nice, quiet place since it's been built, but recently, over the last couple of years, we're getting a lot of trafficking of possibly handing off drugs or any kind of illegal substance. Vandalism, people camping, sleeping out there quite frequently. We've tried to do some things with this, with the local law enforcement, with contact with them on phone when we see things happening. We've taken pictures on a cell phone and sent them to the local law enforcement, and apparently that's helping them a little bit. But we're kind of looking for more support and trying reducing this type of activity going on there. This is an area that has school bus drop-offs morning and evening from grade school through high school in that vicinity. It's not a good culture for them to be around and see this type of activities going on. As well as our front yard is part of that bus station. And if we can get some help with law enforcement, my understanding you got some IT that you're possibly working with within the city. Maybe putting some cameras out there, surveillance cameras, some type of deal that law enforcement, whoever can refer to apprehend what's going on or stop these issues that are going on. Maybe some more verbal signage, big posted signage, curfew times, more codes stating to help support the reduction of this activity that's going on there. I think it'll create a lot better lifestyle for everybody in the area, and those that are even getting on the bus, doing their transport to Sacramento and back every day as well. So that's all I gotta say. I'm just looking for support to stop this activity. It's getting really bad. My wife's been confronted several times, and also myself, with some verbal altercations with profanity and some threats. And we're kind of done with it. Need something done with this. I'm sure you got your hands full elsewhere too. We're just crying out for help, and we'll do everything we can to help you guys too.
Could I ask you a question? Is this in the parking lot, or is it behind the station? where-
Primarily in the parking lot.
Okay,
There used to be the homeless going up on the hill. That's been curtailed with the assistance of the city. Also fencing it off, trying to, give them a blockade, some kind of access barrier, which has worked quite well, but still you get some in there and I run them out, chase them off still.
okay.
But that's not been a real big issue. The issue is this illegal substance trafficking. It's not a good deal.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you.
Anyone else? I see no one. I'll bring it back to the council. Mr. Morris, would we like to have Chief Heller address this maybe, or?
Well, we'll
We'll
talk
look
to him. It
into
sounds
it
like he's already
and,
been in contact with the police department. We'll continue to look at it and,
I'd like to ask one question. From time to time, I see large trailers up there, RV, and I see sometimes large trucks. Do we require any kind of a permit for them to park there overnight, or is it allowed? Do we have a,
we do. Mr. Yule's office actually issues those permits when they come and ask for them.
is
We
there a
don't-
sign up there telling them that they have to do this? or-
Probably not. Again, remember that the largest half of that lot is not permanently improved currently, so it's only the smaller portion that is.
But we still control
improved
it,
with-
though.
We do, yes. But I'm saying improved with signage.
Oh, I see
The
what you're
project
s-
is
okay.
ready, almost ready to go out to bid. There's some complications with that, but we're trying to do to
Okay.
improve it. That doesn't mean we couldn't put up signs
Okay.
in that area, especially about the overnight parking.
Okay.
So.
I've already closed the public hearing, so, you know what I'm going to suggest is that you have something additional to add to maybe talk to the chief or one of us after the meeting and come forward again. So,
Madam Mayor?
Wendy?
First of all, I am sorry that you're having this challenge, and I would like to make sure that the city police has your contact information so that we can, be in touch with you and, thank you for working with us to resolve this, because that's certainly an important residential neighborhood and certainly forefront on all of our minds is keeping our city safe and healthy. So, yeah, thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Any other comments? Okay. Okay, we will next move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion or roll call vote unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. The reading of the full text of all resolutions will be waived unless a council member requests otherwise. Do I have?
Madam Mayor?
Yes?
I request that we pull item 8.5, as I believe we have a speaker here on that item tonight. And I also request that we pull 8.6 because I have a conflict of interest with that item and will need to recuse myself from that.
Okay.
I make a motion, we adopt the consent calendar with items 8.5 and 8.6 pulled.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Borelli,
Aye.
Councilmember Clarici,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Patton,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas,
Aye?
Councilmember Wilkins.
Okay, going to go to 8.5. This is items pulled from the consent calendar. So I'll go to 8.5, and this is adopt a resolution urging the state to provide new sustainable funding for state and local transportation infrastructure. That is not what we're, is that, okay, all right, okay.
Yes.
Okay, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the coalition, and in particular the League of California Cities. I'm Charles Anderson. I'm the Regional Public Affairs Manager for the Sacramento Valley Division of the League of California Cities, and I try to work to represent the cities in this region to the League of California Cities to make sure your voices are heard. Real briefly, this is this coalition that we've built around this idea that California's transportation infrastructure is abysmal. It has significant issues that are causing traffic delays, additional repairs in cars, and creating basically an unsafe environment throughout the state. And a large part of it is that since we had the Great Recessions beginning in 2008, many cities and counties had to defer maintenance, and then to add insult to that injury, the state at that time also was hurting for funds, and they did a lot of fund shifts and transfers and loans out of the state highway transportation fund. What we're trying to accomplish here is to build the most massive coalition possible and to reach to expand the public awareness of how dire our local streets and roads condition are. And this resolution that is before you this evening is to help with building and strengthening that coalition. There are a number of principles that the coalition has signed on to that they believe are important for any transportation infrastructure funding, and I hope that that's something that the city of Placerville can support, so that we have an ongoing dedicated funding source for our local streets and roads, and that we can this won't bring us up to 100%. What it will do is allow us to get rid of the huge backlog of maintenance, and then have an ongoing program to fund continued maintenance. Not only that, but we're also trying to accomplish is eliminate the state's ability to grab on to those local dollars that we rely on to keep our roads functioning, so people can get to work, get to school, and our economy can keep functioning. And so if there are any questions, that's all I have, but if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions from council?
Just a comment, Madam Mayor?
Okay.
Mr. Anderson, thank you for being here tonight, and we certainly share your outlook that the condition of California's roads are just dire, and it's really important for folks to understand that funding streams for local streets and roads are incredibly problematic, which leaves us all in a really difficult position. So, just thank you for helping us highlight that, and we look forward to working with you to get some workable solutions in the future.
And I would like to add also real quick is that the city of Placerville this evening is not alone. Probably in the Sacramento Valley Division, which is about 59 cities, there's I think about 8 cities this evening that are working on passing this resolution this evening. So.
And I think it's important for folks to understand that here in the city of Placerville, 54.2% of our roads have no funding source. And I mean, people don't understand that, and that's just really critical. Need some help with that.
John?
Yes, at the SACOG meeting on Thursday, though, Mike did not paint a very rosy picture about the activities of the legislature in this regard. So I was wondering if in the last 3 working days had
Anything's changed?
had anything really changed a whole lot.
Anything this huge is a long process. There are many pieces to it. We have the coalition building piece.
Right.
We have the public awareness piece, and then we also have our legislative and legislature leadership and state administration pieces that are all working to develop a solution. And I think while the solution has not been finalized, I believe everyone agrees that California streets and roads need to be fixed. It's a major part of our infrastructure, and if we don't do something, we'll probably be driving on something near a dirt road, even on our busy roads. So,
Thank you.
I was going to say, I also, I want to thank you for all the work that that you folks are doing. I know I've attended a couple of League of Cities meetings, and I know this is a great issue, and also at CalCog. Everybody, if our leaders haven't gotten the message by now that what we're asking for, I don't know what it would take, because everybody is doing just such a great effort in trying to, and when I saw that you asked for us to adopt a resolution, I want to thank our staff for all the work that went into this and preparing this. I think it's certainly the statistics are there for you as well as us to show our community the dire straits that we're in. So anyway, I'm happy that we could do this, and we will continue to support you, that's for sure, because we realize the need. So, and thank you for coming up here to
Thank you.
speak
I'm
to us.
always happy to. Anytime you need me to come up, I'll be happy to be up here.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, Carol.
I also wanted to chime in and say thank you for your efforts in this. I have kind of been I've been kind of a voice out there saying no new taxes, no new taxes, no new taxes. But one reason I support this is it's a broader range, and it is moving towards a user. All users who use the roads are the ones who pay, rather than either everybody or a select group. It's the people who actually use the service are the ones who pay. So I really appreciate that, because it allows me to support the priorities that you have listed out here. So thank you.
Okay. John? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to address this issue?
Susan Rodman, driver in Placerville and resident of Placerville. I'd like to urge the council to go ahead and support this resolution. If we can stop the state from stealing our money so that we can actually get some things done, that would be very much in the public's interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Okay.
I thought of a question.
Well, wait a minute. I'm going to,
Yeah.
would anyone else care to come forward? Okay, seeing no one, I'll bring it back to council, and I believe Mr. Clarici has it.
I have a question. Amongst all this information in the back, there's a list of all the counties and all the cities, and they show a number. So is this number, it's a $481,000 and some change, is that number based on using the sort of preferred sort of plan that's in the document and projecting that out, and that would be how much money the city would expect to get, give or take? I don't know.
That actually, it could be higher than that, because the special session bill that contained the original. I'm not. What's the figure? Is it is it 1.5 billion?
1.5 billion cities, 1.5 billion counties. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to in here.
Okay. So it may be there's okay, thank you, appreciate that, because every week they send me new
Of course,
something
yes.
new depending on what they're
Right,
working
right.
on. Okay, so this is the county number. So this this is probably closer what we're aiming for. We're asking for about $6 billion statewide. That includes the highway funds,
Right.
and that also includes the local streets and roads.
Okay.
So that probably would be close if we got to $6 billion, but again, there's so many pieces in this package, and there are some other things that the Republican caucus would like to see happen even before we go this route that also could add some money. So,
But unless it was a whole, I'm taking it back to the local here, because unless this is a whole lot more money, which it's not going to be like 5 times this much money, it'll be maybe a percentage of it more, give or take.
get right.
I think from the perspective of the council and from the folks in Placerville here, is that we still, even if we were to get this money today, if they started handing us a check for $500,000 every year, that would only take us about a quarter of the way we need to go. Now, it would be welcome, and we'd certainly figure out ways to spend it, but that would only be a small fraction, actually, of the money that we actually need to maintain and fix and maintain the roads. And so this isn't so much for your benefit, but for our benefit and for anybody that might be watching on TV, that this number is nice, but it's not really, it only scratches the surface of a problem exists not just in the city, but other places. And that we are going to have to look at other ways and more creative ways to deal with the road problem in town here. So anyway, I just want to point that out, that it's a nice number, and we would welcome it.
Okay, any other questions from?
I move that we adopt a resolution urging the state to provide new sustainable funding for state and local transportation infrastructure.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Borelli?
Aye.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Patton?
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins?
Aye.
Okay.
And with that, I'm going to recuse myself on item 8.6 as I own property across the street from this
Okay.
item.
Okay. So I will bring it back to, oh, thank you. Bring it back to council. Are there any comments on any other?
I'll move 8.6.
I'll second that.
I'm going to ask. Would anyone from the public care to comment on this? You don't have to, Sue. Since you're representing the audience, I guess.
Since I'm it for Placerville today, Susan Rodman, I'd support this. It looks to me like our engineering shop has done a great job to design this, and it certainly would be an improvement for children going to school. So I think this is a good thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Any more comments? I'm sorry? I'm asking, first I was going to see if there's any more comments, and if not, do I have a motion?
We have a motion.
Yes.
I do?
Yes, you do.
I didn't think we did on this one, on this 8.6. I thought we had it on, okay. Okay, Tricia and John, all right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Borelli?
Aye.
Councilmember Clarici?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Patton?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins?
Aye.
Okay.
I have a question, Madam
Yes,
Mayor.
ma'am.
I know it's after we've already voted on it, but I just wanted to know, has the design for the bus stop actually been approved by Planning Commission, or is it just the standard plastic bus stop, or? I mean, there was nothing in my packet that showed what it looked like, but did that go through a process?
In short, yes, because it was all approved under their conditional use permit that was originally part of the Tractor Supply. We have a plan and everything that was approved back then at that time, and it's just actually part of their outstanding conditions that they hadn't yet fulfilled.
So it went through the Planning Commission?
It went through the whole process to get the permit.
Thank you.
I did notice that there's no seats provided, right? It's a standing and...
Yes, you're correct. It is a standing room only, but sheltered from the storm.
SRO.
Hopefully that'll help prevent any problems that we've had with bus stops up there in the big
That's
forest.
the hope, yeah.
Does it look like a tractor? 'Cause I think that
No,
would be
but
really
we'll go ahead and
cool.
put your request in for
Okay,
that.
I like that. I think
You could paint it green and yellow.
yeah.
Okay, let's ask Wendy to come back.
Maybe.
Hopefully they'll save us some cake, huh? Okay, ordinances. Introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance amending Title IV of Placerville Municipal Code Construction Regulations, adding Chapter 12 entitled Small Residential Rooftop Solar Energy Systems to the municipal code, and authorize the Director of Development Services to execute the Memorandum of Understanding with the El Dorado County Fire Protection District. Mr. Rivas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Just to give a little history, this ordinance is an implementation measure with respect to Assembly Bill 2188. and that was approved by the governor back in September of 2014, and that bill amended the Solar Rights Act of 1978. And what the bill requires local jurisdictions to do is to adopt an ordinance to expedite the permitting of solar energy systems on residential structures. So this will affect single-family residences and duplexes only. We've also added into the code that we want this also to apply to accessory garage or carport structures with those uses. More specifically, the Solar Rights Act requires 7 different things that the code must contain, and the code is covering those. For the most part, we had to prepare checklists to expedite the process. So for the most part, it's not really changing anything with respect to the construction of the solar system. What it's doing is it's causing us to change our processes to expedite for the applicant when they come in for a permit. So typically now, in fact, I was told by the building official that we're currently meeting the requirements, but this codifies it. If somebody comes in with an application for a solar system, we're required to have a 3-day turnaround to issue the permit for construction. And if they ask for an inspection, then we have a 2-day turnaround to actually cause the inspection to occur. And the code requires that we only have 1 inspection, and that would be for both the city and the fire protection district. And so that's why we're recommending that you authorize the Development Services Director to execute an MOU, it's a Memorandum of Understanding, with the fire district. We do have copies of their standard plans that we would review, but that way we can ensure that we can meet the 2-day turnaround. I think it'd be very difficult considering the staffing at the fire district that we would be able to have them also comply with that. So they're all on board, they've reviewed everything, and we should be able to move forward with coordinating with the fire district. So with that, basically we're recommending that you introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance that would amend Title IV of the Placerville Municipal Code, which is the construction regulations, adding Chapter 12 that would address small residential rooftop solar energy systems, and then 2, authorize the Director of Development Services to execute the MOU with the El Dorado County Fire Protection District. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
I have a question. How long did it take before? I mean,
We were meeting those requirements, so
That's what
the requirements are a 3-day turnaround, and we were turning around.
so we were doing it, but this is
We
just
were doing it
to-
anyway.
This is just to put a...
Correct, but we
Okay,
are
make sure
required
that-
to have a checklist, and essentially then, if an applicant comes forward, we go through the checklist. If they meet the requirements of the checklist, we're then required to issue that permit.
Okay.
It's mainly just to expedite the process of a way of better facilitating and encouraging the use of solar energy.
Okay, good. Any questions? Okay.
Do we have any special restrictions for solar panels in our historic districts?
No.
So, yeah.
I believe I put it in the staff report. Let me see if I can find it, because I know that came up during discussion with the public. Because we did a CEQA review. Okay, the Solar Rights Act precludes restrictions related to visual or aesthetic concerns. So Senate Bill 266, which was passed in 2011, exempts rooftop and parking lot solar projects from CEQA review. And that's codified under CEQA and the Public Resources Code. So again, this is only applying to residential, does not apply to commercial.
So what would happen if somebody wanted to put a visible solar panel in one of those districts?
They would be subject to this expedited review process, but there would be no environmental review. We wouldn't be able to deny the application based on aesthetic purposes.
Oh, okay. It's too bad.
That's a really great,
Is there
I
something?
just wonder if that's been considered, because it was certainly meeting the regulations of the historic district. It seems like maybe that might skew it.
What could we do about that? I mean, is that, what is,
I guess the only thing I could clarify, this wouldn't allow somebody, say, to put an extra tall solar array on their roof. So they still have to meet the height requirements and those kinds of things in order to qualify. But if it's your typical roof-mounted standard solar photovoltaic system, then the city does not have the ability to deny that system because it's an historic house.
Heaven forbid they put in vinyl windows. Interesting.
Yeah, Windows is a whole different animal. This is only relating to the solar energy systems.
John, you had a question?
No, my only comments about that would be
Okay. Carol? Wendy? Did you have- Okay. Okay, I'm going to see if our lone person out in the audience would like to come forward with a comment on this. Okay. Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to council.
Seems like, go ahead.
Did this get run past the Historical Heritage Association or any historical review or anybody in our historic districts? I mean, it's a valid question that Tricia raises, what it could do. I mean, I understand that the law says you can't restrict it related to visual and aesthetic concerns, but it would be nice, maybe somebody out there has already thought of this, and there's something in the code, or there's something in another, like, I don't know, so a group that does historical review, the state, what's that?
the Office of Historic something.
Preservation?
Preservation, yeah, the Office of Historic, thank you.
Yeah.
So maybe they have had a chance to weigh in on this, because solar panels on a Victorian, I mean, I don't know.
Well, if they're flat, it wouldn't be so bad, but if they were going to do raised or, something.
Those tipped up ones.
Yeah, might,
Well,
pose
but
a problem.
I don't know. I'd have some concern with that, though. If a private citizen wants to put solar panels on their building to, save electricity or to do something good for the environment, I understand the aesthetic concern, but I don't know if I necessarily want to start codifying restrictions like that. Plus, there's no restrictions down there right now. I mean, you
Well,
can.
we have historic districts.
Well, no, I
We have-
understand that, but it sounds like there's no restrictions to putting these solar panels on there presently, so I'm not so sure that passing this would change any of that.
Well, I think there are restrictions if you want to do stuff in a historic building.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do something on a B&B that's historic,
Sure,
or even a private residence that's
Right.
in a historic district, there are restrictions. I mean, I remember when we looked at the pop-out window on Sacramento Street that was a historic building, a residential building, and they had to go through like almost a select review process that was different, above and beyond what the average person in a non-historic district had to go through.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, it would be nice if solar in a historic district would have to at least have someone look at it, another review from a historical perspective, and so that we don't damage our historical. I'm not saying that it's not a good idea to put solar up, but maybe there's criteria for historic buildings.
And there's all kinds of ways
Well-
to put solar panels. I mean, they don't necessarily have to go
Right.
on a roof,
Right.
That's right.
So,
I don't know, I'm speculating, but I think it would be quite challenging to put up solar panels in a historic district unless you could put them someplace where no one would see them. Because I don't know how you would blend, a 6x8 solar panel that's black, whatever.
John?
Just on the issue of design review,
Yeah.
the act itself specifically prohibits imposing design
Restriction.
review. So,
Well, that's what we're questioning.
yeah, I'm just saying, we couldn't add additional layer of review.
Gotcha.
Just because it's a historical district. It doesn't differentiate between.
The state of California took that out of our
Exactly.
hands with the passage of the law that we're now trying to conform our law to.
And I guess my question is, I can't believe that the Office of Historic Preservation, that somebody didn't have something to say about it somewhere
Maybe
along
just
the
slipped
line.
by.
I doubt it. But, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. I just don't know.
If staff could add, basically what the law is saying, that this is a use that's by right. It's not discretionary, and so the way the code is written, it doesn't give any discretion unless, of course, it's a non-standard photovoltaic energy, solar energy system, then of course we go through a more rigorous review, or if there's issue with health and safety. But as far as aesthetics or historic, there isn't. And just so you're aware, this was really vetted more thoroughly at the state level. The ordinance was developed utilizing the Center for Sustainable Energy Model Ordinance, University of San Diego School of Law Model Ordinance, and the California Building Officials, CALBO Model Ordinance. And then we also used the California Solar Permitting Guidebook that was prepared by the Office of Planning and Research, the state of California. So,
Well, they didn't have us there. We weren't on that list. Cleve, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just, Mr. Driscoll and I were just discussing, well, what if a home is on the National Historic Registry? Aren't those two laws then in conflict? In requiring what you can do with the building that's on the Historic Registry? And I think the answer is they may not be able to put solar on that building because it would remove their designation on the Historic Registry, possibly.
well, I guess I would defer to council, but my read of the law is that, under CEQA, typically where you're having an impact on a historic research, on a historic structure, that would come under the research component when you're doing an environmental review under CEQA. So there was that previous bill that I mentioned that's specifically there. That was Senate Bill 266 that was passed in 2011 that specifically exempts rooftop and parking lot solar projects from CEQA review.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying that it may be that it could be removed from the Historic Registry if they went ahead and put that solar on there.
So, Mr. Rivas, it says it precludes restrictions related to visual or aesthetic concerns. So I'm thinking of when we see neighborhoods that the construction is pretty tight, and if you have like a house right directly in front of you, I would say it's on a slope or something, so a lot of people object to trees being, if they put up panels of solar, that would restrict a view, but that doesn't, according to this, it doesn't matter, right?
Well, that's a good question. Again, Senate Bill, the one before you, Senate Bill 2188, which is causing us to look at adopting this proposed ordinance, is only with respect to the processing of the permit to make it more expeditious. But the Solar Rights Act does address what you're speaking to. If you look at the Solar Rights Act, it does protect a homeowner that puts in a solar, even if it's not on the roof, it could be on the ground. It would then restrict the neighbor from planting trees and then shading that solar structure.
Interesting. Okay. Any more questions? Okay.
I will move staff's recommendation.
Nobody wants to say. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Was enthusiastic.
That was.
Oh dear.
Okay, next we come to public hearings. There's none scheduled. Discussion action items. Approved date and topic for neighborhood chat. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. For some time, we've been looking at these dates. We haven't held a neighborhood chat for some time now, but I have now reserved for however long we want. The fifth Tuesday, whenever we have one, would be reserved for a neighborhood chat. And so we do have one coming up at the end of September. And so I'm requesting that we consider a topic for that. I'm recommending we look at streets and roads maintenance again.
Funny you should bring that up.
Yeah, appropriate as of tonight, but, and prepare information. I'm open to recommendations, et cetera, what you would like to do. But I'm recommending that we have just a general discussion about the condition of our roads again, invite comments, et cetera, and potential solutions will be open to any and all that might come up at that time. So, You can see the other dates on here. As you can see, the next one is December 29th. I'm assuming maybe we won't want to hold one then.
I
but
don't
then
think
we have
so.
March 29th and May 31st, the remainder of the year. And we'll still hold those dates. Doesn't mean we need to necessarily hold neighborhood chats on them, so. Questions, comments? Yes, no?
Well, I personally am all for this. I love the idea of setting our calendar a year in advance so we have opportunities to have, informative discussions with our community and especially on topics that are of really grave concern to all of us, and getting a chance to weigh in on a more informal basis and have a really good discussion as we kind of wrestle with some of these topics. And I love that we're using the utility bills to get the word out. I think the last time we did that, there was a really good response, and so I think rather than just relying on a flyer or a banner out front, which is still good, but using both to let folks know that they have an opportunity to weigh in on that, I think is just wonderful. And I don't think there's anything more crucial to us this upcoming year than our streets and roads, because it is something that we absolutely cannot neglect. And we need to start, helping folks in our community understand the dire straits we're in, and inviting them to look at solutions with us. So I'm all for it.
Do you think September 29th is too soon?
Nope,
To
nope.
get the word out?
No, it'll go in the September utility bill, and
Okay, that's the day before the League of Cities thing, so that, okay.
we can't wait till March to have this
That's what I'm
discussion.
thinking.
Can't wait
March
till
is really
March.
kind of a long way
No,
down the road
no.
if we're going to start making.
Way too
How's
far down the
September 29th for all of you?
Great.
All right, you want to set that in September?
And quick question, will these flyers be in color?
Yes,
Oh,
that's the
good.
plan.
Because I'd
Yes.
like to get most impact in those utility bills as folks are
Right.
opening them up.
Right.
Give a
Yeah,
chance of looking at 'em.
Yeah, probably need to be, so, yeah, we'll
Great.
make sure they are.
Super.
Okay, then we don't have to have a vote on this. It's just the recommendation that we approve September 29th.
You should do a motion. to
Should I
approve
do
the
a
date and
a
time.
motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Public comment?
Topic.
Yeah, oh. Okay,
Sue wants to
I will open this up to public comment. I'm sure you're going to approve it. I was just going to go through those.
No.
Sorry about that.
Susan Rodman, Measure H Committee. We just had our meeting last Thursday, and what we found from the results from the survey that we sent out is a lot of our people still do not understand the dire straits of our water and sewer systems. And because we just got those results, I would really like to see us do a neighborhood chat on our water and sewer and explain to the public how much further we need to go with our water and sewer systems. Because until we fix the infrastructure under the streets, it really doesn't matter what we do with the streets, because they will crumble again. So I really would like to have us do this. And it seems like this would be timely, since we just got the results back, to let the public know that we heard you. You said, we want to keep those sewer discounts, and those were important to people, and they felt like that was one of the promises made with that measure, but they still do not really understand how much still needs to be done. It was very obvious from the comments that came back that they thought that $500,000 a year was plenty, and we should be making more progress than we are. And so it indicates to me, and I think to the rest of our committee, that they really do not understand the depth of the problem and how much infrastructure there is under the city that does need to work. So I really would like to recommend that we do a neighborhood chat on our water and sewer. And I would suggest that since March is when we're actually going to do anything with Main Street, that would be a good time to do a roads. Because then we'll have Main Street torn up and everybody will be back in the roads. I mean, everybody hates our roads anyway, so it almost doesn't matter when we do roads, there'll be a turnout. But our water and sewer, since we just got the results from that survey, and what it indicates. And I realize we haven't had a chance to bring the results of that survey back to you yet as a council. But with the idea of a neighborhood chat, I'd like to really recommend that we do that as soon as
Okay.
possible.
Thank you, Sue.
Can I ask a question?
Sue, before you,
How many surveys did we get back?
We got about 12% back. I think the surveys came back. We have about 3,000 customers, and we got over 400 surveys.
good.
So it was 12% response, which is, for a survey, is pretty good. And the majority of those were from paper. Over, 370 or something of them were on paper, and only 70 people responded to the website.
Great, thank you.
So it was a success to send that out, and people did notice in their water bills and did take time to respond to the 10 questions. And not everyone responded to every single question, but there was a significant response.
You got the idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
thank
was
you.
pretty clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back to council. I'm wondering, could we, okay.
Go ahead, 'cause
Well, I
I
was
was
just-
gonna do the same thing you were gonna say, so go ahead.
if we could do a combination.
Yeah, I think that we,
Because I
again,
think we need to do this road thing needs to get going too.
the main purpose of this is to educate the public, and I think we could easily spend, if you're willing to take about 2 hours, which we've generally done, spend an hour on each of these, and I think we could easily show the impact of doing nothing and what, what our needs are in terms of both, could be shown in that amount of time. We could prepare some information. We can redo this flyer. I'd like to do just one page, but maybe we do it back to back or something, or maybe we can get it all on the front to show both our water and sewer needs and our streets and roads.
Well,
needs.
Sue was bringing up, the point that, one follows another, but, and that's why I think it might be a good fit that we,
Right,
do them both, so.
I agree. I
Anybody else?
I think we have time that we can do that.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking, so.
So if I may.
Yeah.
Obviously, my concern is that this morph into a meeting to propose a sales tax increase. So I would just like to make sure that whatever we bring forth, that it is an open discussion on any idea of how we can increase the pie rather than just add more tax to our retailers. So, that's my main concern, because, and I think we already have a funding source for sewer and water, and obviously roads is a little bit more challenging, but as I said earlier, the proposal from the league was a user pay system, and so I would just like to make sure that it not become just a sales tax increase discussion.
And I agree with you, Council Member Patton. I think it's really important that, first of all, our community understands the issue. Because I think when we did have a sales tax initiative in the last election, people didn't understand it. And maybe there are solutions out there that we haven't thought of. So I agree with you. My feeling about this is we all have an honest discussion about our challenges and invite creative thought.
Perfect.
And where it goes, I don't know. But we also need to impress upon our community that we can't do nothing. So work with us to come up with a workable solution. And I think an open discussion about that is where we start.
Perfect.
So I agree with you.
Yeah, just quickly, our intent is not to propose any solutions at this. It's to
Just to have a
present the
chat.
problem and then invite comments, solutions from the public, not any that we would propose.
I like it right on a flyer. How do you want to fix this? It's just asking them.
Right.
So.
Okay. You have a motion?
So I move that we approve our next neighborhood chat for September 29th, and that the chat include a discussion on our roads as well as our infrastructure, including our water and sewer system.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've added another item, 12.2. This is to approve a letter of complaint to the California Public Utilities Commission. Mr. Morris, are you? Oh, Dave, Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. And we apologize for the short notice on this item. We literally got an email last Friday regarding this letter. It's a work in progress, but we didn't actually receive the letter itself until Friday after the agenda was prepared. So real quick, like all other California cities that are serviced by Pacific Gas and Electric, Placerville receives a Rule 28 allocation each year from PG&E for future undergrounding of existing overhead power lines. Beginning in 2011, the California Public Utilities Commission approved a request by PG&E to reduce the Rule 28 allocations to agencies by approximately 48%. And allocations since then remain significantly lower than the 2010 level. The city of Hayward has spearheaded an effort on behalf of all agencies that receive Rule 28 allocations from PG&E and prepared a joint letter of complaint to the PUC requesting a reevaluation of PG&E's request for reduced allocations and render a decision to restore the allocations per the tariff retroactive to 2011. The city of Hayward has asked that affected cities provide signatory support for the letter and possibly consider financial support in this effort. For example, in 2009-10, the city received $78,197 in Rule 28 allocation. Due to the POC's action to reduce the allocation by 48% per PG&E's request, the city's allocation was reduced to $41,451 in fiscal year 10-11. In fiscal year 14-15, the amount was $46,132. The undergrounding of utilities is very expensive, and it typically takes several years of Rule 28 allocation to construct a project of meaningful size. For example, the undergrounding along Lower Main Street as part of the Highway 50 Ops project was paid for with several years of Rule 28 allocations. In fact, the program, under the program, an agency can be allowed to have a negative balance to accommodate a project. You can actually go in the negative, and these are
you can actually what?
You can go negative. So, and these are non-cash credits, if you will.
Oh. So
we basically it's a dollar amount on the books at PG&E that they can do a project for us or subcontract it for us. As of May 31st, 2015, the city had a negative Rule 28 balance of $473,985, primarily due to the Highway 50 Ops project. At the reduced average rate of approximately $46,000, it'll take about 10 years to eliminate the negative balance. If the pre-2011 allocation level is restored, that time could be cut in half. Because Placerville is one of the oldest cities in California with numerous overhead power lines that need undergrounding, it's imperative that the city receive its just share of Rule 28 allocations in order to pay down the negative balance and construct these improvements over time. Staff did participate in a joint phone conference hosted by the City of Hayward on July 23rd, and Hayward's management and legal counsel explained the issue, requested that all affected agencies join Hayward in signing the letter of complaint and consider in sharing the cost of the effort by either committing a percentage of future Rule 28 allocations or a cash contribution. From this discussion, it was not clear how much this effort would cost, and Hayward management made it clear that they are proceeding forward regardless of the level of financial support from other agencies, which is great. Based on the comments from other agencies that participated on the call, there was not a consensus on the type or level of financial commitment agencies are willing to make. For that reason, staff is recommending the council defer any financial support until more information is available. Unless the council commits to a level of financial support, there is no cost associated with tonight's action. The budget that you adopted last June does not include any financial commitment to this effort, and we recommend that you simply approve the letter of complaint to the PUC tonight.
Comments from council? Questions?
I have a question.
John?
What motivated PG&E to take the action back in 11, 10, besides greed?
That was my question too.
Apparently, there was collectively throughout California almost $1 billion in unused credits.
Yeah.
And so they argued to the PUC that, you know, agencies aren't spending their credits that they already have, and therefore we can afford to reduce the credit. And they set a goal of achieving, I think it was $80 million in projects a year. They didn't meet that goal. And one of the things that was disclosed, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but a lot of projects have been delayed by PG&E. According to the reports we received, I don't know that for a fact, but through this conference that was stated, as well as the cost of constructing the project for PG&E to do it compared to a city or county is significantly higher, in some cases double.
Right.
And so that's created an environment that makes it very difficult to do projects with your Rule 28 money.
Thank you.
Interesting.
I just have a quick kind of a weird comment. All this time, and I've known about this fund for several years, but I thought it was Rule 28, not Rule 20A. And I remember when Placerville Drive used money to underground utilities on Placerville Drive and then the Lower Main Street. Those are the only two projects I've ever known to be able, and obviously if we have a $470,000 deficit or negative balance, that's why. Because, I mean, we couldn't do a project today and use this money with that kind of a deficit, could we? Or negative balance?
Right now, no, we're maxed out.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go deeper into negative. You can borrow up to $200,000. We have a credit right now that we could, actually I take it back, we could borrow another $200,000 if we wanted to. I
Even
wouldn't
with that
suggest
high
that
of a
right now.
negative balance?
Yes.
Wow. Well, it's pretty horrendous to me that we're in the negative. with
There
that
is a
much
small
money.
piece of that. and Ms. Neves can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Blair's Lane, there's a small piece of Rule 20A that is carved out for that project.
For Blair's Lane?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we should go on record as, approving that letter, I mean, of complaint.
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
I mean, just because.
If for nothing more, the complaint.
I think we should. I think we should complain to somebody, and I think this would be a good idea. I agree.
Whether it does any good or not.
Is this something that I'm wondering now out loud? Is this something that the League of California Cities would get involved in? I mean, I know it's not all the cities in California that find themselves in this,
It's
but
too bad Charles left.
he
huh?
left.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to ask him that
Sure,
question.
sure.
See what they say.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
That's your job now.
It's sort of like owning money to the company store. You never quite get out of debt. You always owe these people something.
Okay, any more questions? Public comment?
No.
Bring it back to council.
With that, I'll recommend we approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, do we have to say with or without
Oh,
financial
yeah.
support?
Oh, I
think
Because there was option 1, 2,
That's
3,
right,
and
yeah.
4.
well, let me amend my why can't I talk tonight? My gosh.
You're on vacation.
I don't know what. I move that we adopt a resolution approving a letter of complaint to the California Public Utilities Commission regarding PG&E's reduction in Rule 20A allocations to communities and authorizing city manager to execute the same. No financial contributions at this time.
You know, it's possible we could use the Fund 20A funds.
I'll amend my second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Council reports from other agency meetings. Transit, Councilmember Wilkins.
No meeting.
Okay. Transportation,
No meeting.
Councilmember Thomas. LAFCO, Councilmember Patton.
Tomorrow.
SACOG,
Sorry, folks. We had a meeting, and it was very good. And one of the things we discussed was the lack of action on the part of the legislature to do anything to help with the road situation. A more interesting part was actually, and I'll try to dig up some information and share it with all of you at some point, because I'm sure I'll hack this to death. But SACOG, as part of some global climate change or climate change initiative, went out, and I think it's tied to actually what they have to do now in terms of doing these climate change assessments and how the transportation plans that they're making will impact carbon emissions and stuff like that, and greenhouse gas stuff. Was talking about the impact of climate change on future events, and actually as it relates to hardening infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. Like, for example, if you have more hotter peak days in July, you may see more buckling of asphalt. You might see breakdowns in like overhead electrical lines that run trolley systems. There's all these sorts of things that could happen. If there's just as much precipitation, but it falls more as rain rather than as snow, you may see more flood events rather than fewer in the future. Now, of course, as it was pointed out, I pointed this out in one of my moods, that this could all happen next year. I mean, we've had floods, we've had hot days and stuff, and the idea of hardening the infrastructure over time is a good one. We did caution them, though, that in some parts of the SACOG, greater SACOG area, the word climate might not exactly be received particularly well. So how we go about talking about a very important thing, which is how do you harden your infrastructure off in the future. And they went out 100 years. So they went out, and of course projections out 100 years on climate are, fairly dicey, but they all kind of point in the same direction. It'll be slightly warmer. There'll be more rain, less snow. Although there may very well be more rain. That's an interesting part for California, is that a lot of the climate models now show not that we'll be in a perpetual drought, but that in fact there might even be more rain. It just won't be snow anymore, or it'll be less snow. So anyway, it was a very interesting thing. I will try to get a little bit more data. There was actually a very nice overview, and if I can find it, I will share it through staff to everybody that, and actually to the public. They'd probably be interested in this as well. But it's a very interesting conversation, and it kind of shows you that although it's being pressed by a certain issue, in this case it's climate, actually hardening infrastructure is something that we could all talk about and kind of get around and help out. So anyway, that's my my SACOG.
Okay, SEDCOR would be me. We have a meeting tomorrow, a special meeting over in Auburn. It's decision-making time on how we're going to go forth with SEDCOR. So hopefully I'll have a report next meeting. And I will say I had the pleasure of receiving an invitation, and I went to the summit yesterday up at Tahoe. And John, it's interesting you're talking about what you just said. Practically the whole, and I'm sure you all saw it on TV, they addressed, the Lake Tahoe and saving Lake Tahoe and different. They also talked a lot about the fire situation and how things are changing. Maybe some minds in Washington about how we're going to progress to try to keep our land from burning up. But it's funny when things happen, but I read a report about Lake Tahoe, and they mentioned this yesterday, but they neglected to say how this happened, but they were, the clarity of Lake Tahoe, I can remember going up there as a little girl, and I remember this impressive, that it was 100% clarity. And then it fell like few years ago to 60-something%. And now it's back up to 78%. And they're saying it's because of the drought. And the reason being is that there hasn't been a lot of rain that has washed all this sediment down, so that it's proof that sediment has something to do with clouding Lake Tahoe. And so if any of you have gone up there recently, they've gotten a lot of grants for doing curbs and gutters, and they're capturing a lot of because the transportation travel. And one of the things that Governor Brown said is that, in his opinion, it's time to look for more. And another thing they addressed and this is another thing, if you've gone up there in the summertime and you try to get near the lake on your scenic drive, there's cars parked from here to breakfast because of people trying to enjoy, get down to the lake or whatever. That's got to be stopped. I mean, they're trying to find a way to remedy this. So they're proposing more transit, electric cars. Of course, he's promoting that, but and more transit and different ways of transportation up there at the lake. So it was quite interesting, and it was really nice to see all those very important people up close and personal. And I did shake hands with a few of them and put a plug in for Placerville and told them all to come and visit us. So anyway, it was interesting. So, okay, requests for future agenda items. Requests require a majority concurrence of council. Any requests? I have one that I talked to Mr. Morris about. I've gone on enough trips with the Chamber of Commerce and seen how other cities do things and make their improvements and repurpose and everything. And it, to my, I just get so upset because we don't have a river or a lake. And all these places that we go to has a river or a lake. So I'm saying, okay, we've got Hangtown Creek. And I know that's one of the things that we've all talked about and had concern about when I first got on the council. Mr. Rivas was a part of our city council at that time, and this was his project, trying to make improvements to that Hangtown Creek. So I shared this with Mr. Morris, and he said, you know, I've been thinking about digging out all that information, but I think it's time that we need to, I mean, we've got, I feel, a little gym out there. Unfortunately, in the days gone by, we've allowed a lot of businesses to build over the creek, but I still think that somehow we could do something to make that a part of the, you know, I mean, the trail does go up there, but I think we could just do more. So that's my request. Anybody else?
Mayor, so can I, just to clarify, you would like us to review documents that are already in
Yeah,
place
see
regarding
where,
Hangtown
yeah,
Creek
and then
and where
maybe
we could go forward from there?
Present it to us and see how we can move forward and maybe,
Maximize that asset.
yeah.
There was, when I was involved in the downtown, this might have been around the Highway 50 Ops project, there was a group, CABY, CABY. And I remember writing letters to CABY, they must have been a funding source for something, to help us with Hangtown Creek. So it'd be important if we do something like that. Stakeholders would obviously be the property owners and the business owners that front the creek. And I know when we were talking about the parking lot with the Clay Street realignment, Clay Street, Cedar Ravine, we talked about a parking lot off of Lotus and what an access point to the creek could be. One of the things with Tahoe Basin, maybe they talked about this, was the impact of the bike trail to the lake itself. How many people are driving to the basin to get out of their car to get on the bicycles? Huge problem. But if we had an access point at Locust and an access point for our trail, maybe up by Kentucky Fried Chicken, if we had those points identified and then worked really hard within those points, or, you know, and I'm assuming that's where you're talking about. The other point of Hangtown Creek that I think is a gem that has never been really, I don't know that it's ever been explored, is Peraz Road and Placerville Drive. And that little park,
That waterfall that's up
that little
there.
park right there could be just a gem for Placerville Drive. And then the other one is the confluence of Randolph Creek and Hangtown Creek.
Yes, above
and
Randolph.
up there where those two come together by those car things. And anyways, those sections, if we could somehow, I don't know, maybe Steve, you'll have some ideas. He's looking around the chaos over here. But I think,
Okay, what are they doing to me now?
but I think that those are little keystone pieces. And if we just do a few here and a few there, perhaps in a period of 100 years, it only took, I think, the city of Chicago over 100 years to get back their river, because they had to, and John probably can relate to this from an attorney standpoint, but they had to actually do like eminent domain. Whenever it would change property, whenever it would sell, a property would sell, the jurisdiction took back the waterway. And I thought since Hangtown Creek was a navigable waterway, that it can't actually be private property. That's just my thoughts. I don't know for sure. I just thought at one time I heard it was a navigable waterway. And
Well, I do know that Fish and Game
Controls
controls
it,
it,
right.
and so it must be what
the crayfish like it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But I just think that, you know, I think it's a great connector too for all three sections of town, Broadway, downtown, Placerville Drive. And, you know, it would be a great way for folks to, bicyclists, walk, people, it's not that far a walk.
There is,
really.
I do want to challenge one thing that you said, and it was that you said over the years we have built over Hangtown Creek. But over the years, in the last 20 years, we have not. And we have, I think the city has done a really good job keeping property owners from building.
Oh, and I
because-
agree. I didn't mean recently. I meant
Right, over the
what
year,
had
yeah,
been-
historically,
yeah,
it was
exactly.
allowed, but especially where the Independent is, if you look at that building, I think that was the last building that was actually allowed to build over, and that was built when it was Montgomery Ward's.
Oh, gosh.
So,
Yes,
anyway, so I just wanted to say, it hasn't happened recently.
No, I
But
know
it's,
that.
so the city has been aware and has been doing some things right as far as protecting that corridor. What we do with it, I think, is up to the leaders of today and tomorrow and in the future.
Okay.
Maybe we could have a neighborhood chat on Hangtown Creek.
December. Big now.
Okay, city manager and staff reports.
Just a couple of things. First of all, that discussion kind of leads us into what I wanted to bring up tonight is previously we had talked about doing a joint meeting with the Recreation and Parks Commission to look at potential dog park sites. One of those, as you know, is adjacent to Hangtown Creek. And I was listening as Councilmember Patton was talking, there's actually a pretty nice area that could be a nice area anyway, that extends from that lower part at Lower Main, where we're proposing a potential dog park, up to, and there's a bridge, the old bridge that crosses the creek, up towards Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I was thinking of that, you know, if that could all be developed into kind of a trail park area going down through there, there may be potential to do something there, which is land we already own. So it's not something we have to take back. It's in our possession currently. But actually, what I wanted to ask you about, though, we talked about doing that in September. However, there's a conflict for that Wednesday that is the Recreation and Parks Commission meeting. And so I wanted to know, do you want to move this out to October? Is that soon enough? Or do you want to do a special meeting is my request. They meet, Mr. Yule, Steve, Recreation and Parks Commission meeting is on the third Wednesday, correct? And I forget, one of you I talked to, I think it was you, Mayor Brelli, there's a conflict in September on the third Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah, it's the Women of Distinction dinner, and I think we're all
Right.
gonna go in.
Not John.
Not John.
John's
You're
not
not.
going. John's not a woman of distinction.
So the October date would be October 21st if you wanted to wait till then and do a joint meeting with the Recreation and Park
I
Commission,
think it's
which-
important that we do have that joint meeting, so I have the 21st open, I don't know. October?
October 21st.
That sounds like a good discussion. I'd like to do that.
So, and we've, just so you know, we've got an architect who has done some work on that site. She's also working on Lumsden Park as a potential site, and I believe one more area up by Schnell School, but that one's a little more iffy, but potentially. So we're trying to look at all the potential sites
Okay.
that could be considered, and we'll have information to share with you regarding potential costs and et cetera that we can look at that meeting.
Good,
Sounds wonderful.
good.
Well, everybody's got their calendars out. December 15th is the Chamber Christmas Party, and it's not on a day when we have a meeting. I just want to let you know that.
All right.
Laurel told me. I'll do it.
The second item that I just wanted to mention, we talked about this already, but just a reminder, photo opportunity, Friday morning, 7:45. Our distinguished city attorney will be taking your picture.
Miles, early in the morning.
7:45, just in front of historic City Hall, Old City Hall.
Any special colors or anything that we're supposed to wear? Bright colors? Or-
Now you're going way beyond, right?
Let's wear denim and white.
It
or
should be-
denim. Let's wear
That's what I'm
denim.
thinking, if we want to, kind of look a little
Denim and white?
Well,
Yeah.
Western best.
red, red and
But it's a
denim.
red brick building.
I don't own any denim. Literally. I don't.
This is getting complicated.
How dare you?
Then
Is it
navy
casual?
blue. How about navy blue?
Whatever you folks want to do.
Well, we should decide, because I want to be dressed appropriately.
You understand what the purpose of this?
yeah, I was just gonna
It's
say,
for
let's-
the Sister City trip that Brian Bierkamp, are you going to
I'm
that?
going
You are,
to,
right,
yeah.
Mayor? Going also to Japan, and they want to share photos of the community and community leaders.
Well, what we're doing is we're making a book to
Right.
present to them.
Right.
And so they want a picture of the city council.
Well, who doesn't, really? Now, how about we wear red, white, or blue? How about that?
That's what I'm thinking, you know, it's kind of,
Business
Comedy.
casual. like-
no, I think, yeah, so, anyway.
Navy?
Well, wait a
Well,
second.
denim is navy.
Okay, navy.
Anything blue.
If I wear, I can wear jeans.
Yes.
As long as they're blue.
And a red shirt or a white one.
Any public comment on this, Sue?
Red building.
Important discussion.
I wouldn't wear red.
I wouldn't wear red, no, because that's, yeah. Well, we could sit on the yellow side.
The
No.
good news is that I know Mr. Driscoll has recently purchased Photoshop, which will allow him to do some work on it. So.
And no wide angle lens, John, please.
This tall and now-
I'll have to squeeze you together.
Okay. Next upcoming items tentatively scheduled for the next regularly scheduled city council meeting on September 8th include Youth Assistance Fund donation, Measure H community survey results, quarterly investment report, dental insurance agreement, new salary schedule, first reading of an ordinance for post-construction stormwater management standards, LID standards, to address the city's year 2 of MS4 permit, and a new sewer and water capital improvement charges.
Good times.
I have no idea what I just read.
Good. I have one, I
Good.
have
Oh.
one thing I'd like to announce. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention,
Follow through.
this is one more item that I'm working on and hope to get on here is a Placerville Hotel incentive program.
Yes.
I hope to have that on that agenda.
Oh, good, okay, good.
All right. This Friday evening, the El Dorado High School Cougars are starting their defense of their league championship and undefeated season. They will be up at South Lake Tahoe playing their first game. So
This Friday evening?
at South Lake Tahoe High School.
Is playing a Hard Rock Cafe too.
Well, I guess that's important, but yeah,
You're gonna be there.
that's true. After the game, go to the Hard Rock Cafe. Okay.
Okay, and Wednesday night, go to, It's Personal.
Oh, that's right, you're the celebrity
I am
bartenderette.
bartending, so we're gonna raise funds.
Well, since we're announcing, I just have to announce that the new cancer center for Marshall
yes,
Medical
that's
Center
That
is
is
opening
Friday
Wednesday,
night.
Wednesday
Oh,
night.
is it
So
Wednesday?
I won't be able to get a drink there, but that's a huge benefit to
Yes.
have a new cancer center opening in El Dorado County.
That's why I can't go.
Expanded.
Okay.
Well, I have
Cancer
one
Center.
too now. If you can't make it to Tahoe on Friday, our local artist, Terry Shiro, is going to be at Crystal Basin. She's also my son's teacher.
Oh, okay, great. All right,
Okay, are we done?
okay, anything else?
Tiffany Shiro. Oh my gosh. It's only second week of school, sorry. Tiffany.
Okay, with that, I will
Oh, like 26 years.
adjourn the meeting to be held on September 8th, 2015, 5 p.m. closed session, 6 p.m. regular session. Thank you very much and good night.